everyone doing today? Good? Awesome. Hey, this is what I always love to do, right? I love getting people involved. I'm such an involvement type of person, right? So if you can just stop for 1 second. Everyone get up for a quick second. All right. This is what we used to do back in the day. We used to call it the brain game. Jamie, Trevor, I know a lot of you probably remember this brain game. So it's just kind of get our mind ready, focused, ready to go. So I want you to roll your shoulders back, feet shoulder width apart, and let's just rub our hands, all right? If I say 1 clap, you do what? 1 clap. 1 clap. If I do 2 claps, you do what? 2 claps. If I say high five, you're going to high five your forehead, all right? Perfect. All right, and now if I say half a clap, it's going to be like 2 magnets repelling against each other. Okay, you guys ready? You guys ready? Yeah. Perfect. Here we go. Let's go. 1 clap, 2 claps, 3 claps. High five. High five. High five. Stop hitting yourself. Let's go. Half a clap. Ooh. All right, we're good to go. I think we're in time. All right, thanks. Take a seat. Take a seat.
Wait,
I know. We got time. We need to get going. Perfect. So, guys, old school versus new school. What we had was a mom and pop, restaurant that just fed a family of 4. Started in 2002. We had no systems, no operations, no real strategic marketing plan. And being able to join in this business, I was able to help with that and create it into an unbeatable product. So, I ask you, old school versus new school. You have a piece of pen, take a piece of paper and a pen in front of you. I want you to write down, what's better, old school methods or new school methods? Just write it down. I don't want to hear your answer yet. Just write it down. We'll talk about this a little later. Look at that. Look at that. This is me. My name is Ramirez. I'm 29 years old. I'm a cancer survivor, 8 months into remission. Jamie, it's probably another lunch with leader that has its own bucket of worms to deal with. But I'm also a part of YPO, Young Presidents Organizations, as one of the youngest in the Rocky Mountain chapter, and I'm also the youngest chair-elect for the Colorado Restaurant Association. This is my mom and dad, mom and pop. Oh, go back, that's my brother. That's a mom and dad. American dream, came in from Mexico, migrated over just to find the American dream. They worked together, had to deal with us too, and make something pretty special for us. That's my brother, older brother, 33 years old. One of my heroes, that's our little boy right there, little Danny. And somebody that I just looked up to. So you have these family dynamics, older brother, younger brother. Paint the picture. So the American dream. Jose and Martha Ramirez, my father was born in a family of 15, my mother was born in a family of 8. Both came over, so you can already know there's a lot of family dynamics in that. We tend not to go to Christmas parties just because I let your imagination go from there, right? My father was lucky number 7. And when my mother and father started this business, they put everything they possibly could in this business. My father had $5.18 left in his bank account when he opened Los Potrillos in 2002. $5.18, that's it. They sunk everything in. My father told my mom, hey, if I don't make it, I'll go back to bussing tables, I'll go back to serving tables. So you have to understand, they sunk everything they had, their savings, everything that they saved up into this business. The early years were fun, right? Luis and I were restaurant kids. We slept in the restaurant, ate at the restaurant. When on the weekends, our friends would invite us to their house. My parents were working, so they weren't going to take us over. We actually had to invite our friends to the restaurant. They come and hung out with us. Luis and I were best friends, and honestly, the reason why they called Los Dos Potrillos, it's after my brother and I, the 2 Colts. But for me, football was life. If I wasn't in the restaurant industry, I was playing sports. I was an off and on type of person, and my father was like, hey, if you're not doing anything, you're gonna be working. And as a 13-year-old kid, that was cheap labor, right? And it worked out. It worked out really well. But I grew up so fast. My brother and I grew up so fast. We had pagers thrown at us and all these sorts of things, just trying to make a customer super happy because we quoted them the wrong time. We figured it out. But, right, this industry was special, but also football really had my life. We had to do a mission and vision statement for Valor Christian High School. When I ended up graduating, we did the senior presentation, and at that moment, 2009, 2010, I was not a fan of the restaurant industry. You have to remember, I lived there, I ate there. I was there all the time. I was yelled at by angry customers and all these sorts of things. It just wasn't my cup of tea at that moment. But right here, I wanted to go play the NFL like any high school athlete would, right? But this was in 2009, 2010. My vision is to take my parents out of the restaurant business and for me to take over for them. They have been working their entire life, and it's time for me to give them a break. My other big vision would be to franchise the Dos Potrillos with my brother. So knowing that I hated the business, knowing that I would come back one day, we continue moving forward. So post-college, went and played college football, went to the Pacific, ended up getting my Bachelor of Science, Exercise Science, went to Valor Christian High School, back, had a job lined up with Jamie Heiner, was a first strength and conditioning assistant, then he ended up being athletic director, and then about 23, 24 years old, Jamie Heiner gave me the opportunity to become the interim director of performance. So I was in charge of 600 athletes at a young age, learning how to deal with different personalities. The same way I wasn't going to coach the football team, I wasn't going to coach the girls' tennis team, right? I had to learn filters and different filters. I had the opportunity to go to the University of Colorado to become a strength and conditioning intern. But then there was a fork in the road. I was there, I enjoyed it. I could have gone to Hawaii. I had the potential to go to the University of Hawaii, got my become a graduate assistant position with football. Could have been, enjoying the beach, loving everything about it. Got my master's paid for, but there was a fork in the road. In a good way, of course. I met my wife, Mallory Ramirez, Mallory Conroy. And there was a point where I said, if I go right, my life is going to be completely different. I'm going to go left, my life's going to be completely different. Just remember, my mission and vision was to come back into this industry and take my parents and help them out. And I did. Ended up coming back at that point. So I came back in 2016, officially started back. Again, you asked my father, it's a running joke. The only reason I got back into this industry was because I needed to make a little bit more money because I wanted to get married. It wasn't the choice. I just knew I would be back. I didn't know when. So I officially started in June 2016 at Los Dos. This is a 10-year. Started as a bar back. My father didn't put me as a top person right away. He's like, you should be a bar back. Sounds good. That works. Working 40 to 60 hours a week. Haven't been in the restaurant industry since 2010, so I was off and on. This was the favorite word for my brother and my dad. Most favorite word of anything. And all in good nature, right? Remember, I came from Valor, came from the University of Colorado, was able to just try to see, I saw policy, I saw procedures, and when I would ask them, how do we do this, or what do we do, or how can we do this, figure it out. Okay, figure it out. Well, Dad, what if we do this? Figure it out. Well, this person called, figure it out, son. Sounds good, we'll do. So there was no sense of management training, there was no sense of anything. It was just, you're tossed in there, you just figure it out. So then we got to the opportunity where we were opening up Los Dos Potrillos Highlands Ranch. When I got into this business, the deal was my brother was going to transfer to the Los Dos Potrillos Highlands Ranch. I was going to stay in Centennial. I was going to become a manager then, which I did. So then you start asking the question, when I'm there, how do I gain respect? How do you gain respect from your employees? You have this person coming in, son's dad, whatever, that son, he's just going to come in, he's going to be the boss. The biggest question is, how do you gain respect? So let me ask you this. How do you create an empowering culture? I want you to write your thoughts down. What's the first thing that comes into your mind? Because I'm curious to see if they line together, yours and ours. How do you create that empowering culture? So when I came in, I had to think of a playbook in my mind. Mentally, I had a playbook. I had weaknesses, and I had also strengths. But let's go through my weaknesses first. What are some weaknesses I probably could have had coming in and being a manager? Could have been, being the owner's son, seasoned employee who's this kid just coming in. I was young. I was inexperienced. But I had some strengths being a manager, quote-unquote manager now. I left and came back. I had the opportunity to be bossed around by some other people. I had the opportunity to see different things happening. And I couldn't get fired. Well, sort of. I could have, but I would have had to do something really, really, really bad to get fired. So again, started again as an employee, started as a manager, but still had the apron on, was going in, getting my hands dirty, doing things. And then you ask yourself, how do you gain that respect? I kept asking, how do you gain that respect? It was simple. Show up and just do the work, right? Don't go in and start commanding people. I didn't go in and start commanding, hey, do this. Hey, you, go do this. Hey, you, go do that. That wasn't my mentality. I said, I have to show these people, these employees, I've been with my father for over 10 years, to say, hey, I can work. I can be just like you. You can leave right now, and the business is still going to be running. Because I was there showing them working. I had to build some street cred with them. So I showed up, did the work, and was there being that helping hand for my busters, my servers, my front of house, back of house. But there was also a little point to that, letter asterisk. You can't just show up and be in the way. If you're in the way of being in the way of your employees, you're going to end up disrespecting them more because you're just in the way. They're going to tell you to move and get out of the way. Like, why be there? Try to be the helping hand for them. Don't do it for them, but also don't be in the way for them. So once I ended up getting the respect, it went really well. So that's okay, this guy has street cred. He can see that this business is still going to work even if I leave. Okay, let's give him a chance. So I started to sit down with them. What can we do to make Los better? What can we do to make our company better? Our veteran people that have been there for 10 years, what can we do? I want to hear it from you. I would write it down, sat with my server, sat with my buster, sat with my kitchen staff. What can we do to make this better for you? They were shocked. No one's ever asked them that. No one's asked their veterans, like, man, this person's coming in and he's really asking me, what can we do to make this better? So there were a couple things, and honestly, it ended up being more politics. The busters wanted the servers to do something more. The servers wanted the busters to do something more. Okay, I can mend that. We can be fun. We can become a team. And they started seeing that change. So then, once they started seeing that change, it was my turn to ask them, okay, hey, you're seeing this happen. Now I need your help to help me put some change on it. So taking my strength and conditioning side of things, I ended up using whiteboards. Put whiteboards in all of our restaurants, actually. This was in Centennial. We always gather up, okay, guys, what's going to be our main topic? What are we going to do today? And we always used to put it on the whiteboard. Our side work section 6. We're all going to help each other. We're all going to see it. You're going to see how I do it, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We get it. You understand how I want it. So now you understand what the expectation is. But then, this is the number one thing right over here. And I actually did this on April 1st, 2017, so I wanted to make sure you guys saw that. I sat with my busters, and I got my stopwatch. I'm like, okay, let's see how long it takes for this buster to clean this table, for them to replace it, and for them to bring back new chips and salsa. We timed it. They saw it. I saw it. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And I asked them, do you think this is possible to do every single time? I said, okay, perfect. She said, yes. Great. That was the expectation going forward. And when it came to my servers, I asked them, you have to pre-bust. You have to help your busters out because they're going to be flipping your tables a lot quicker, so you have to help them remove the plates. And they said, okay, that's fine. I always love this analogy. My servers are like my QBs, my quarterbacks, right? Just because they're the ones that get the biggest praise, get the biggest tips, and everyone knows who they are. My busters are my linemen. They're the ones doing the dirty work, getting their hands dirty, always working hard, and hardly ever get praised for it. I love busters. So establishing this not only gave you the respect, but it also gave the expectation that they knew, because they were setting the expectation, and I had the opportunity to keep their expectation, because they're the ones that said it. They set that. I didn't set it for them. We did it together, but it was their words. So the key takeaways to this phase 1. You do the old school methods, right? Back in the day, old school mentality. It's do it or you're gone, right? Simple. You don't like it, there's a door, leave. Bye. Stern, which is still good to be stern in an old school, but you also have to be a little stern in the new school. There was a solid foundation, and there was a lot of old school mentalities, don't ask why, just do it. But coming in and creating this new school mentality is, hey, let's get input from our team. Let's be graceful. Let's see, how can we be more patient? How can we be more graceful to our team? Show up and do it. Just don't say it. But also, if you can do what you're saying, if you're telling me this is what you're going to do, then do it. But if not, then how can I trust you? Maybe that's time we start to part ways. Because they're setting the expectation. I'm keeping them accountable, but they're the ones that said it and they still can't do it. That seems to be a problem. But the most important thing was communication. We started to communicate as a team, but also as more than just a team. It was everybody. We knew what was going on. So we asked ourselves this question. Creating the systems and the operations will come. Create the system and the operation will come. You guys ready for this one? All right. We have been so successful for 15 years. Right? This is a conversation my father and all my brother, we had this, my mom and dad. Just remember, they sunk everything that they possibly could into this business. It's been successful for 15 years, clearly. But if it's not broken, don't fix it. Why fix it? Don't fix it. Right? Why? It's not broken, don't fix it. We don't need to. So I ask you, thinking on the top of your mind, what's the point of having systems and operations in your business? Why? Just write it down, little note. So going through the respect, gaining the respect, understanding where we are now as a team, I go back into this playbook. So my strengths, I gained the respect from my employees, right? They saw I meant business, I came in, and I started changing things, and we started working as a team. So that worked out. I left and came back. Again, I left our family business, learned different operations, and had the opportunity to come back. And I gained a network. I was able to connect with different people. The restaurant association, through this year, I was able to connect with different people to say, hey, what do you do? What are you doing to create these systems and operations? My weaknesses, I was young, again. Inexperience, of course, with systems and operations. But the number one thing, my dad was my boss. In a good way, right? Because there's family dynamics. We're talking 15 years of a successful business, them putting everything they possibly could, and now you have this kid that's, him, coming in and telling my father and my mom trying to do what to do, right? That's what they saw. I'm sure that's what they saw. They saw Luis, myself, my dad teaching me how to read. That's probably what they saw. It's like, I can't believe he's growing this fast. Like, he can't tell me how to run my business. I've been doing it longer than he has, right? That's what they saw. So I used to call this host stand conversations, right? You have hallway conversations. We don't have an office, but host stand. There was a lot of, hey, Dad, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if then all this could happen, right? I would call him at 11 o'clock at night. Say, Dad, what do you think about this idea? Like, why are you calling me? Like, just think about it. What if we did this? Just we'll talk about it tomorrow, son. And there'll be times where I wouldn't even come home with Mallory, my new wife. I'm like, I just want to quit. My dad is being so stubborn. He doesn't even want to hear anything. I'm done. Crying and just being done. I'm like, I want to quit. I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. But I kept pushing that envelope because I knew there was something more than what I knew there was. And it really just came down to, just don't say it, show me. My father, there was a line where I had to understand, this is my dad, and this is my boss. If I was still working for Jamie Heiner or the University of Colorado, after to bring this up, I wouldn't be all mad. I wouldn't say I would quit because he said no, try again. It's because of that relationship my father and I had. There was a difference. I need to understand when he's my father, I need to understand when he's my boss. And he's going to tell me the things that need to be told, but I can't take that personally. And I learned that. So I said, let's do this. Started creating a structure. What would a structure look like? Right? Let's just say we ended up opening up 9 restaurants. What would the structure look like? We have Centennial, Highlands Ranch, Littleton, but future restaurants. What would the structure look like? But how do we get there? That was what I kept asking myself. This is the vision. How do we get there? This is the end goal. So I just said, okay, easy. This is what I'm going to show him. This is what we're going to do. We're going to create a succession plan with a lead server, an assistant manager, and a general manager at all stores. My brother and I will kind of lead the outside, check in to see how they're doing. Ended up working out great. Working out phenomenal. Started implementing this structure at every location. I had a lead server, assistant manager, and a general manager. Started really paving the way, really showing what this could potentially be. And I kept it super simple, y'all. It's not rocket science. You find a veteran person from your company. You ask them, what do you want to do? What is your vision? What is your goal? Do you want to continue growing in this company? Then you promote them into maybe a lead server, something that's a little higher than what they're doing currently. Add a little more things on their plate. See if they can actually handle it. They're showing up on time, really taking pride in what they're doing. Perfect. Let's create them and make them into a quote-unquote manager. And then from that manager position, we just can't say, hey, we're going to kick this general manager that we have out because he's too old school. No. Let's wait, let's get them really groomed up, and then when we open up the next location, we move this assistant manager into a general manager because they understand our culture, they've been through the ranks, and they also understand what we expect of them. February 22nd, 2017 is actually a really big date for us. This was a moment when we kind of all sat down and we had our first quote-unquote meeting. Can't say those of you who have ever done this. Jose, my father, and Luis, never really been to these meetings. We rented this out at Monk and Mongoose, had our managers, and I said, this is going to be our first meeting. The thing that was most important about this was you had my father and my brother both there, and we were talking to our managers, our general managers, about empowering them, letting them make the decision, letting them coach their employees, letting them understand, hey, this is what we did, the culture's here, now you have to teach and constantly keep teaching your employees to constantly keep this structure going. And honestly, we ended up getting a lot of ideas from them. My father was open to it. He was open to understanding and learning from other people. But, of course, the family dynamics. What we saw versus what my father saw. What I saw, quality of life with my newly wedded wife. Quality of life, I didn't have to close as much. I didn't have to be there as often. Restaurant growth. So we had the opportunity to continue opening. And I was working smarter, not harder. What my father saw, higher payroll. It's inevitable, right? You're adding more people, you're adding more jobs, it's going to become higher payroll. It's going to happen. But what we all saw after a couple months of doing this, better quality of life for my management team, happier workplace, a better service because they were actually there creating different ideas, letting them kind of bring their own deal. We weren't micromanaging, which ended up equaling better sales and a better bottom line. So, slowly but surely, I had earned my father's respect. That's right. That's it, right? I'm done. I earned my father's respect. I'm done. I can say I conquered and I'm good to go. It's really not. I was just getting started. So, one afternoon, this is before we opened our Parker location. I was sitting with my newly wedded wife, or my in-laws at dinner. I was talking to my father-in-law. He's like, how many employees do you have? I'm like, we have about 200 employees. I said, okay. And if you have an HR, I'm like, HR? Why do we need an HR? He's like, dude, you need an HR. I said, okay, fine. That night, I researched what an HR does. That next morning, on my email, I put Daniel Ramirez, HR manager. I had no idea what I was really doing, but I was researching it, trying to understand what it was, and then trying to, get it more. What we had was an old school mentality of outside payroll, doing all these things just from the external. I'm like, let's move it internally. Let's do everything inside now. Changed everything. My father, again, he's like, do it, go for it. You just make sure, don't mess up. Just don't mess up. I said, okay, that's fine. So from there, moved everything in-house, handbooks, tax information, a small onboarding process, better system overall. But this was the biggest steps for anything, for anyone. You create the job, you do the job if you don't have it, you find someone for that job, You teach the job to somebody, and then you look for a new job inside your company. I didn't know what HR was, but I researched it, figured it out, had a great understanding of it, and knew what had to be done in operations. So I created the job, I did that job, I found somebody for that job, I taught the job, and then I looked for a new job. And I ended up doing this over and over and over again. You know, the biggest thing, especially creating this structure in the restaurant world, again, if a kitchen guy leaves, we know how to do that. We'll hop in and do it. If the host leaves, we'll do it. Our manager will do it. But for this was completely new. I had to be ready to go. If they were wanting to leave one day, the business is still going to run. We're still going to run perfect. So from there, where we are today, 2 or 3 managers each store. We have a corporate office, have an HR manager, compliance manager, accounts payable. I have an executive assistant, and I also have a social media manager today, because of that same process that I did. Find the job, do the job, teach the job, find a new job. Now that's it. I can cruise high. Be done, just be complacent. I can just be done. I can literally just enjoy my life. No, that's not me. That's not who I am. That's not what I was built for. We're Ramirez Hospitality Group now. Los Dos Potrillos Cervecería, Los Dos Potrillos Express, Los Dos Potrillos Dos Tacos, and a lot more to come. Just because of that structure that we built. I have the opportunity, and my brother, for us to just step out and look at it from a 100,000-foot view now. We can look at it from the 100-foot view, 1,000-foot view, but at a 100,000-foot view, where we're teaching, coaching, developing our managers for them to constantly keep developing employees. We had this year, it was the best one yet. We have a syllabus for all of our management team. We have an agenda for all of our management team. We have a quarterly book that each manager has to read, and they present on it. And we also have exploratory phases now. Hey, this is what you're doing, but after this book, let's do this. It's like a lab. It's like, think of college. You have work, and then you have lab, right? You're in the classroom, and then you have a lab. We create labs now for each manager for each quarter based on what book we read that month, that quarter. So the key takeaways for this one is the old school mentality. It was an all day, every day. You're constantly trying to figure out, do it yourself. There was really no rest, and it was more of a figure out now. I can't wait till tomorrow. The new school was taking what we established and being able to work smarter, not harder. So how do you continue to innovate your company, right? We've done this. We're here. We have this great structure. It's obviously why my whole family's here today, and the restaurants are running perfectly. How do you continue to innovate your company? Marketing tactics. There's an old school and a new school of doing things. So the snail mail coupons, right? Everyone knew we had for 15, 16 years, we had 15% off. Come in, get 15% off your meal. The advantage of that, you got your name out there, you had new clients, you also had the opportunity to be expecting it in the mail. And in general, I got people in the door, which is great. Disadvantages, it limited our reach. Only a certain demographic, not enough reach, and it was just old school. So, my father had the respect, we had all this respect. He said, okay, son, take this meeting. Trust me. Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Talk to these marketing companies, these mail-in flyers. They're like, hey, let's do this. We do this every year. We've been doing this every year. Let's just continue doing this. And I said, no, let's just wait. How much did this cost? First company said $15,000 for the year. Yeah. She said, okay. Second company, $5,000. Third company, $10,000. So now we're $30,000 just in mail-in flyers, plus on top of 15% off that people are coming in and using. You're losing. We're not winning anything in this. Yes, we're getting people in the door, but we're essentially losing. So I said, let's get in the social media train. Why not? Let's see what this is all about. We had a Facebook page, everything was working out great, but it was all automated. It wasn't personable, it was just these random companies that would just send out random memes. It was like Taco Tuesday, and like they were, like squirrels with sombrero. Like it was just super this is Lostos? Like this isn't Lostos. It was just super unpersonable. So I said, okay, let me just try this. Let's just try this. Let's get rid of this, more mail-in flyers, and let me just try this. Okay, all right, son. So I said, Instagram. Why not, right? In 2016, I ended up doing this photo. It's this chicken fajitas. It doesn't really look very good, honestly. There were 32 likes, and one of them was from me. So yeah, I mean, I tried. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it myself. Fine, let's just try it out. Start from somewhere. And it worked out great for the most part. We started capitalizing on it. Posting a little bit more photos, margaritas. Okay, how do we do this? But then a good friend of ours told us about this competitor coming into the market. It was a nationally chained Mexican restaurant saying, quote unquote, we're a Tex-Mex killer. We're going to come and kill all the Mexican restaurants in Colorado. To me, I took that personally. Okay, very personally. And I researched them up, saw their social media page. Of course, they're nationally chained, 30,000+ followers. And I started saying, okay, what's our weaknesses? What's their strengths? Okay, we can basically go up head to head on everything except one thing: homemade tortillas. That was their niche. And then I started researching all these places, like, who else has homemade tortillas in the suburbs? I ended up realizing later that Hacienda did too, which is fine, which is great. My wife, here's a funny story. My wife and I would be like, she's like, hey, honey, let's go to Hacienda. Okay, perfect. I'm always open to going to different places. Always do. We're like, honey, why are we going to Hacienda? Oh, because they have homemade tortillas. We go, okay. So that right there made me feel like, okay, it's time to get this homemade tortilla machine. So we did. We went out to Texas. We did it, and we ended up doing homemade tortillas. We boosted it for about $100. Got 1,000 views, 162 likes. Things started working. Okay, this thing might be working. We ended up releasing this about 2 months before those competitors came in, and we didn't see anything move from our sales. So it ended up working out well. And actually ended up getting more sales because we started promoting ourselves like, hey, everything is literally homemade now. Everything. Even homemade corn and flour tortillas. So from there, I said, let's continue doing this marketing deal. It's working out really well. I rebranded ourselves. When people think of Los Dos Potrillos, no one calls it, let's go to Los Dos Potrillos. They all say, let's go to Los Dos. Let's go to LDP. So put out shirts. Los Dos, make it big, Los Dos, and Potrillos in small. Started doing our accomplishments. Started highlighting great people. If anyone knows Jose or Compita, he's been there. He's been with us for a long time. And it just started really working out. We just started boosting, $100 each. They're all boosted. But again, 202, 67, 49 likes. We're working out, We weren't doing mail-in flyers. And then we got to the point where we're opening up a new store and a new concept. In a graveyard. Ooh. Our real brokers even said, Jose, Danny, Liz, why do you guys want to go here? This is a graveyard. We're like, so? It's like no restaurant ever makes it here. There's been 4 restaurants that have come in and they've all failed. So, let's do it. What we did for our marketing plan, new concept, new everything, we decided to mix old school and new school. We did the 50% coupon, 2 rounds is about $2,000. And then we decided to do the new school, the Facebook profile, change your photo, receive an LDP gift. So we use the old school mentality just to remember to get people in the door, to get them actually there to eat. Give them 50% off. It's not going to cost us anything in the long run. It ended up working out. Just for $2,000, about 3 months worth, worked out. The new school was, I understood where our clientele was going to be. It's about 20s, high 20s, up to the 40s, 50s, 60s, right? It's a higher clientele, age region. So I said, change your profile photo on your Facebook to I'm going to Los Dos, opening are you. So imagine about 60 people putting this onto their Facebook profile. Then they ended up showing how many friends they had, thousands of people to get people to the door. They say, what's Los Dos? Just to try it out. Ended up working out. We had a 45-minute wait, opening weekend, and really ever since then in Parker. So then, it was time for everything to be put together, work together as a team. From talking old school to new school, to systems and operations, to marketing, to culture. COVID-19. We had to put everything together to make sure we were going to survive this. We had no idea what was going to happen. While the world world was still at standstill. We had no idea. Governor Polis was saying, hey, we're going to shut down all restaurants. There's absolutely going to be nothing that's going to happen. But to us, we said, you know what, we're going to be just fine. We have a great culture. We have our troops ready to rally up. Doesn't matter. We're going to go through this. We're going to push this thing through together. We had a great structure where Luis and I literally opened up, it felt like we opened up 4 new restaurants in 1 week. Our GMs, our assistants, and our lead servers all took the hand and said, hey, we're going to be here. And we taught them, and they started to execute it. And then the marketing, right? Talked to our good friend Richard Weil, restaurant consultant right here. I said, hey, Richard, what in the world is curbside takeout? That's what the news is always saying. He's like, well, this is what you're going to have to do. Never done curbside takeout, never did any of this, so it's super, super new. But we marketed thinking like we did know. I don't know if you saw the commercial. We put this on Instagram.
All right, this is absolutely wild, this government mandate to shut down.
Literally bizarre. Okay, you dine in with us or go to any restaurant. That's crazy.
You know, I just wish we had something that we could do to provide for our community. Los Dos Express. So I know this is a very unique, difficult times for not just us, but for every restaurateur. And we want to be able to provide for our guests and feed that nourishing meal that our community can still go to in these hard times. So we would love to introduce to everyone a brand new concept we have going, Los Dos Express. Animo!
So, again, we had no idea what we were doing, but we figured it out as we did. When we posted this Curbside Express to when the world was at shock, not boosted at all, this one. 14,000 people reached, 44 comments, 109 shares, 235 likes. Blew up. People were loving us, saying, man, this is phenomenal. So happy to see Los Dos Express because of our structure, the business was running well. Our culture, people were staying and fighting, saying they're not going to quit. And then, of course, our marketing. This is a paid ad that we did for $100 during the pandemic. Great photo, $100, 74,000 people reached, 3,340 content, over 2,290 likes. The marketing was being done for us at a cheaper rate, and we were getting people in the door. So the final countdown. You have to establish that culture first. Once you establish a culture, you create the systems and the operations will come. And then you create the marketing plan to take over. By reinventing our company through this innovation process, by including the old school with new school, it allowed us to continue being more open to different ideas. You need to establish a culture first because you get the buy-in. Once you get the buy-in, then you get the respect for the growth. And when you get the respect for the growth, you create the operations and the systems. And then when you do that, you have the ability to market the way you want to market. Let's say you did the marketing first, without any respect or any structure. The 2 things you're going to end up running into is more burnout and probably a lot of more employees being turned over and say, you know what, I'm done. Your service is going to go down, quality might go down, you're going to feel like you're drowning. Or let's say you have all these things, you have the respect, you have the culture, you have the systems of operation, but you're afraid to really pull the trigger and do a big marketing deal? Don't be. You can't please 100% of the people that walk into those doors. And I had that problem. Man, I would see a bad review like, oh, it would just crush me. I've gotten so much better at them. Like, you know what? It's okay. We're going to figure this out. Take it one day at a time. Don't be afraid to push the envelope when it comes if you have the systems and operations and the culture in place to really make your business successful. So let me ask yourself in the beginning, the question you wrote down, what's better, old school methods or new school methods? My take on it, and it always has been, my father is a horse rider. Luis and I are the horses, right? Fits perfectly for Los Dos Potrillos. If he wasn't there helping us steer and helping us make sure we didn't do the same mistakes he did, we would have crashed and burned so many more times. But we were running 100 miles an hour. And he was, wanted to run 100 miles an hour with us as well, but in a controlled manner. He would steer us. He would say, hey, calm down. Let's take our time for this. And it was actually perfect. Him being the guide and us being the runners ended up working out tremendously. Because you mix old school with new school and it becomes an unbeatable product. That's me.
We've got time for a few questions here today.
They have chosen to be closed on Sunday and to give their employees a break and so on and so forth. Has Dos ever thought of doing that? I know it takes a lot of business away, but people die to get into Chick-fil-A on Mondays.
That's a great question. It really comes back to getting to know your employees and communicating with them. We've had multiple times asking them when it came to the mask mandates or when it came to closing on certain days. You'd be surprised, especially with our employees, they need that extra day because if something happens with their paycheck, who knows what they're spending and how they're spending it, they might not have enough money to pay for their rent. So it's just our demographics on who we employ. They actually would rather choose that extra day. I say, how would you feel? I asked my kitchen staff, what do you think if we close one of these days? Like on a Sunday or anything? It's like, no, I'd rather work. They'd rather get that 10 hours of extra overtime that they have the ability to pay off their mortgage, to pay off their car, to maybe send money to wherever they're from. They actually want to work.
Hey, a couple questions for you. First of all, number one fan, my wife and I have been going to restaurants for 15 years. We probably go twice a month. If you could slow down social media for us so we can get a table, that'd be nice. Just get a table, get a parking spot. It's not that easy, man. Couple questions for you. Number one, whose idea was it to start brewing your own beer? You do a really good job of that. Number two, your parents started this business from scratch. What are some of the things you saw them do to persevere through the hard times of getting that business off the ground?
Yeah, those are great questions. So the brewery was actually all of our idea to an extent. When we walked into Parker, there was this brewery that was there, right? And he's, we can open that spot, maybe we can put a buster station there. And I'm like, let's just do a brewery, right? And he's like, what do you know about brewing, Danny? I'm like, what does Greg Jones know about making wine? And he has Angelo's Carboy, right? And he's a phenomenal guy. I love it. Love Greg. And it's true, right? It's like he took the chance and he hired somebody really great. And I said, let's do the same thing. We can do it. Why not us? Why not us? You see everybody that's created their dreams. They said, why not us? It always started with why not us? And then the second question, my mom and father and mother, the golly, total respect, 100% respect, because they really taught us what work ethic was. From working Monday through Sunday, maybe taking one day off, seeing them, blood, sweat, tears, to having the ability to, there would be holidays or there would be times where my parents couldn't even join us because they were always working. We learned that. I learned that. At least I learned that's the way you need to work. My father's always said the CEO thing. Like, son, why do you want to be a CEO? Like, you sit in the back of a desk and not do anything? No, I want to be the CEO that's in the weeds. I want to be the CEO that's going to be there because I learned it from you guys. I didn't just get there. They're giving me the title. To the extent we gave ourselves that title again. he with his permission, but it worked out because we saw how hard they worked. And we know there's a threshold. We know that it's up here. If we're not, we can push it. We can push the envelope. We can easily do that. It's because of them and that us seeing them work this hard.
This is actually an exercise we do with all our employees. Danny, where do you see yourself in 5 years personally? Where do you see yourself in 5 years with our business?
Oh, man, that's great. Yeah. 5 years personally, I see ourselves as a bigger family, being able to enjoy time with my wife, my son, potential future kids. My 5-year plan is also to be cancer-free still. And in business, is to really take what we've established and continue growing it. It just always goes back to why not us? Why not us? I want to continue growing this brand, and it's on my vision. Maybe not franchise it, but take those Dos Potrillos across the states. Why not? My father has always said, why wait till you're 67 years old to try something that you wish you would have tried when you were 20, 22, 30? Do it now when you can, and if you fail, just pick yourself up and you'll be fine. Don't wait till you're 70, 80 to try it. Do it now. And that's what the plan is. Luis and I have some great ideas, and it's just the beginning. Just the beginning.